The One-Legged Lion. A children's story written by Mukhtar Ahmad. Strange things are happening in a peaceful village, livestock are vanishing, and people are living in fear. But two smart and brave boys, Khalid and Sajid, are determined to solve the mystery. What they uncover surprises everyone. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming adventures. All rights reserved.
The One-Legged Lion by Mukhtar Ahmad. Khalid and Sajid were two brothers. Khalid was 16 years old and Sajid was 14. They lived in a village with their parents. Although their father himself was uneducated, with time he had come to understand the importance of education. His wife was also a very wise woman. She too considered education very important. She had a deep interest in studying during her childhood, but due to circumstances, she had to stop after completing primary school and stayed at home. After mutual consultation, the couple sent their two sons to live with their maternal aunt, who lived in a nearby city with her husband and two children. Khalid and Sajid quickly became close to their aunt's children, Arif and Tariq. The four children studied diligently and, during their free time, not only played games but also read good books. Because of their reading habit, their knowledge increased significantly, making them very intelligent. Their annual exams were over, and all the children were given vacation until the results came out. Khalid was in ninth grade and Sajid in 8th. When school closed, both brothers took permission from their uncle and aunt and boarded a bus to return to their village. The moment Arif and Tariq heard about Khalid and Sajid's departure, they became sad. They asked them to try to come back as soon as possible. When the two brothers reached home, their parents were overjoyed to see them. That night, while talking, their mother told them that a wave of fear had spread throughout the village. Not a single night passed without a villager losing a cow or a goat. At the spot from where the animals disappeared, large paw prints were found on the ground. A tracker had examined these marks and confirmed that they were tiger paw prints. This news had caused panic in the village. There was a forest not far from the village, home to various wild animals, but no one had ever heard of a tiger living there. Even the woodcutters had stopped going into the forest out of fear and were now doing other work to feed their families. Both brothers felt sad after hearing this from their mother. The villagers were very poor, and most of them depended on their livestock for survival. Both boys were very intelligent and brave. They decided that they would help the villagers and somehow rid them of the tiger. The next morning, after arriving in the village, they were standing on the roof of their house when they heard shouting from one of the neighborhood homes. The noise was coming from Aunt Jannat's house. Their mother quickly left the house and rushed toward Aunt Jannat's place. Khalid and Sajid followed her. Upon reaching Aunt Jannat's house, they learned that the tiger had come there the previous night as well and taken one of her two goats. The two brothers inspected the area. Aunt Jannat used to tie her goats under a shed in the courtyard. The courtyard walls were very low. Her husband had passed away, so she managed her household by selling goat milk and chicken eggs. The boys noticed several large and small co-ops in the yard, filled with clucking chickens. In the ground, they found an iron peg with a broken, thin rope lying nearby. A second goat stood beside it, chewing cud. The ground around was soft and moist, with several visible tiger paw prints about 8 to 9 inches long. The boys moved away from that spot and looked around the courtyard. Near the wall by the main gate, they again noticed tiger paw prints. Both brothers began closely examining the marks. Their mother saw them and quickly came near, speaking in a frightened voice, "What are you two doing here? Come back home. What if the tiger returns?" The brothers smiled at their mother's simplicity and followed her back home. The neighbors were trying to comfort Aunt Jannat. After coming back home, the two brothers went up to the roof again. They were still talking about the incident when suddenly they saw a taxi entering the street. The taxi stopped in front of a house. It was the house of Sher Jan. The brothers had known Sher Jan since childhood. He was born in the same village. He was very poor and, according to the brothers' knowledge, had been working for the village blacksmith for the past 2 or 3 years. At first, his master had assigned him to hammering iron. When he became a bit skilled, he was made to work the manual bellows and he began melting iron, brass, and other metals, pouring them into clay molds to make various items. Very soon, he became quite expert in his work. The taxi door opened and Sher Jan stepped out. The brothers were very surprised to see him in this new grandeur, wearing expensive clothes, fine shoes on his feet, and stepping out of a taxi. After getting down, he walked towards his house. Khalid noticed that when Sher Jan heard the commotion coming from Aunt Jannat's house, a strange smile appeared on his lips. This startled him. After a while, he said to Sajid, "Sajid, what do you think about this tiger that has suddenly appeared from the forest and started taking away the villagers' animals?" "It's a one-legged tiger," Sajid said with a smile. I examined the tiger's paw prints carefully. All the marks are from the same paw, not from four. What's even stranger is that there wasn't a single drop of blood there. It looks like the tiger didn't carry the goat in its mouth, but lifted it in its lap. Khalid looked at his brother with admiration and said, "People are right when they say that you've inherited your brother's cleverness." "Let people say whatever they want," Sajid laughed. "It's not necessary that everything they say is true." Hearing this, Khalid felt a little embarrassed, so he ignored the comment and said, "These incidents are troubling the poor villagers a lot. We have to catch this one-legged tiger. I believe that whoever is behind these incidents will be caught very soon. Or let's say, we'll catch him very soon." Did you notice that Sher Jan smiled when he heard the noise coming from Aunt Jannat's house? "I didn't pay attention to that," said Sajid. "Anyway, it's not a good thing to feel happy at someone else's misfortune." Khalid fell silent and started thinking. Both brothers had started to suspect Sher Jan. So, they decided to keep him under surveillance. From their rooftop, all the houses in the neighborhood were easily visible. The two brothers began climbing up at intervals to observe the area. One thing they noticed was that, in the afternoon, a person had come to meet Sher Jan who, by his appearance and behavior, did not look like a respectable man. He had large mustaches, bloodshot eyes, and a big belly. Since Khalid and Sajid suspected Sher Jan, they decided to investigate the matter further. In the evening, they went to the blacksmith of the village where Sher Jan used to work. Since they all lived in the same village, the blacksmith knew the brothers very well and received them warmly. He was happy that they were studying in the city. When they asked about Sher Jan, he told them that it had been several days since Sher Jan had quit the job, and now he had no idea what he was doing. After sitting there for a while, they returned home. Upon reaching home, Sajid said, "If he has left his job, then how is he managing his living expenses? We need to find this out too." When night fell, both brothers climbed up to the roof again. Their mother became worried. She was afraid that the tiger might climb up and harm her children. The brothers reassured her that the roof was very high and the door leading to it was always locked, so there was nothing to worry about. It was midnight. Khalid and Sajid's eyes were fixed on Sher Jan's house. Suddenly, both of them sat up alertly. The door of his house slowly opened. The moonlight was bright, so everything was clearly visible. Sher Jan poked his head out and looked around the street. It was deserted. He stepped outside. After coming out, he shut the door but didn't latch it. He was holding a cloth bag in his hand. He had only gone a few steps when the same man who had come to visit him that afternoon appeared from behind a wall. Khalid and Sajid quickly climbed down. They quietly unlatched the outer gate and, sticking to the walls, started following the two men. Since the moonlight was spread all around, they had to be extremely cautious in trailing them. Coming out of the street, the men reached an open field. There were many bushes in that field, which made it easier for Khalid and Sajid. Even if Sher Jan or his companion turned around to look, the boys could crouch down and hide themselves from view. The field ended, and a cluster of semi-built houses began. After walking a bit further, the two men stopped in front of a house. The walls around the courtyard were quite low. They both climbed over the wall and went inside. A little later, the door of the house opened, and Sher Jan's companion came out with a goat and walked away in one direction. Sher Jan bid farewell to his companion and then re-entered the house. Then he latched the door from inside and was about to climb over the wall to come out when his hand struck a brick lying on the wall. The brick fell to the ground with a loud thud. Hearing the sound, someone from inside the house shouted, "Who's there?" Just then, the door of the house opened and a man came out. In the moonlight, he could see Sher Jan's figure, so he started shouting, "Thief! Thief!" and ran toward him. This situation made Sher Jan panic. He quickly climbed over the wall and jumped outside. In the process, the cloth bag in his hand slipped and fell to the ground. He didn't get a chance to pick it up. He ran away as fast as he could. The man from the house also ran after him, shouting. Khalid and Sajid had also seen the bag fall to the ground. Before people could come out of their homes after hearing the commotion, Sajid ran like lightning, grabbed the bag, and returned to Khalid. He said, "Run, or we might be the ones who get caught." By that time, people from the nearby houses had come out after hearing the noise. The two brothers ran, using the bushes for cover, and within a short while, they had gone far away. They were heading toward the village police station. The building of the police station was shrouded in darkness, but one room was lit. In that room, a sub-inspector could be seen dozing off. A constable was lying on a bench in front of him, snoring. Hearing the sound of footsteps, the sub-inspector opened his eyes and looked at them in surprise. He recognized them. Khalid said, "Sir, we've come to trouble you. We've found out about the tiger that's been taking away the villagers' livestock. Please come with us and arrest him." Hearing the word tiger, the sub-inspector was startled. Straightening up on his chair, he said, "How can I catch a tiger? I've already informed my superiors to send an experienced hunter to kill the tiger. I just wrote the letter today. In that letter, I also mentioned that the poor villagers are extremely troubled and scared, and that they shut themselves indoors by evening out of fear of the tiger." Khalid smiled at his words. He reached into the bag and took out an object, placing it on the table in front of the sub-inspector. The sub-inspector looked at it in astonishment and said, "This looks like an animal's paw, but it seems to be made of metal. Now, please come with us. We've traced the criminals who have been stealing the village livestock. It wasn't a tiger taking them, it was these people who were stealing them and using this metallic paw to leave tracks so that people would think a tiger had taken the animals," said Sajid. Then he briefly explained everything about Sher Jan and his accomplice. Upon hearing this, the sub-inspector quickly stood up from his chair. These people had a very clever plan to fool the villagers. If they are caught, it will be a great success. This achievement might even get my long-pending promotion approved. You two are very intelligent and brave. You've solved a big problem for me. I will never forget your favor," he said with deep gratitude. Then he woke up the sleeping constable and, along with 3 other constables present in the building, set off with Khalid and Sajid. Khalid and Sajid were sure that by now Sher Jan must have reached home. All of them quickly headed toward his house. The sub-inspector feared that Sher Jan might try to escape upon hearing of their arrival. So he decided that 2 constables would quietly climb the wall and enter the house to capture him. Sher Jan was caught quite easily. When the sub-inspector showed him the metal lion's paw, his face went pale, and he nearly collapsed. He was handcuffed and locked up in the police station's cell. He also gave the name of his accomplice, who lived in the neighboring village. Sher Jan used to steal the livestock, and the accomplice would sell them. They would then divide the money equally. That same night, he too was arrested. Later during the investigation, Sher Jan revealed all the details of his crime. He explained that once, he had found a tiger's paw in the jungle. Seeing it gave him an idea. He thought of making an exact metal replica of the paw, and then stealing the villagers' livestock while leaving prints made with the metal paw. Upon seeing the tiger prints on the ground, everyone would believe a tiger had taken the animals. Having worked as a blacksmith, he had become skilled in metalwork. He easily made a metallic replica of the tiger's paw and began stealing livestock. His accomplice, Sohrab, would take the stolen animals to the market and sell them. The next day, the whole village was abuzz with the news of Khalid and Sajid's brave act. The sub-inspector was a very good man. He prepared a full report of the incident and sent it to his senior officers. The officers were very pleased because they had also been receiving complaints about the tiger attacks and were deeply concerned. Once the matter was resolved, they issued the sub-inspector's long-pending promotion order. In recognition of Khalid and Sajid's cleverness and bravery, they also announced a reward of 10,000 rupees each for them. Moreover, they declared that the owners of the livestock stolen by Sher Jan and Sohrab would be compensated. The constables who took part in the operation would also receive a reward of 1,000 rupees each and certificates of appreciation. The 2 boys had become famous throughout the village. All the villagers were visiting their home to congratulate their parents. Although it was a moment of joy, their mother seemed worried. When Khalid asked her about it, she said, "I fear that once Sher Jan and Sohrab are released from jail, they might become your enemies." Khalid shook his head and said, "Let them become enemies if they want. Anyone who commits a crime, it's a duty to help the law bring them to justice. If we keep living in fear, then criminals will become bolder and make innocent people's lives miserable. Besides, we are not alone. We have our police, other law enforcement agencies, and our media too, which doesn't hesitate to expose such people." After Khalid finished, Sajid added, "And Mom, cleaning our country of such elements is a great thing. Those two clever criminals have been caught and will now pay for their actions. Another good thing is that the people who lost their livestock will now be compensated. Our village people are very happy. You shouldn't worry, be proud that your two sons are so brave. Now tell us, what will you do with the reward money we got? Hearing this, a smile appeared on their mother's face and she said, I will deposit this money in the bank under both your names so it can be used for your future education. You solved this case using your intelligence, and intelligence comes from education. By accomplishing this act, you have filled your parents' hearts with pride. Hearing their mother's words, Khalid and Sajid's faces lit up with joy. That's all, Mom. Just keep praying that we always keep doing such good deeds for our country and its people, said Sajid, and both brothers lovingly hugged their mother.